Hi, everybody. For this edition of A Conversation About COVID, we've made a few changes. Joining our panel of YPG Commander Colonel Ross Poppenberger, Command Sergeant Major Jamathon Nelson, and Deputy Garrison Manager Ron James is YPG Technical Director Larry Bracamonte. But more importantly, the questions that are going to be answered in this episode were submitted directly from members of the YPG family, folks that work here on post, folks that live here on post. And with that, we'll start with Colonel Poppenberger and some opening remarks. Colonel.
One, I hope everybody's doing well. This is our second taped video message to the workforce, and right now our plan is to continue to do these weekly until we're through this pandemic, just to educate and inform and talk to the workforce. Let me open with a reminder that we all have a social responsibility, and that means if you feel symptomatic, to tell somebody and stay away and do your social responsible role in not spreading this. You're not a hero by coming into work if you feel the symptoms. Currently, the government, as of last night, has issued a stay-at-home executive order encouraging, everybody to stay at home. There are several exemptions. Basically, we fall under the exempted class as federal employees in support of Yuma Proving Ground. In Yuma, as of this morning, we have 12 positive cases, and so consequently, it's not a major hub. And frankly, I look at our low numbers are as a result of leaders doing the right thing, both the leaders of YPG and the leaders of the Yuma community, all said and done. And so our numbers remain low. This is happening just as our national leaders had anticipated, and right now, for the next couple of weeks, we'll likely see a spike in cases. That said, continue to follow the guidance published by the CDC. Basically, I hold a daily update meeting with all our senior leaders across YPG ranges to discuss issues and how best to manage our organization through this challenging time and to make the right decisions. Our work here at YPG is important to national security, as the Russians and Chinese are not taking a break. We must modernize our force, and YPG is one of the key organizations in that modernization effort. Although we have slowed down, we are doing some tasks to help reduce the logjam once we come out on the other side of this back to full capacity. We have done a series of safety measures to protect our force. Currently, we are screening all personnel at our gates and sending some home if they appear to answer affirmatively. I ask you all to be honest on both sides of the equation. If you feel symptomatic, please tell somebody. You have a social responsibility to not spread this. If you feel fine, perhaps seasonal allergies indicate as much, so you're not to take advantage of the situation on the other side. I've given post-wide guidance to maximize telework. We're ordering additional cleaning supplies and have closed our restaurants to takeout only. I understand that there are many that cannot telework, as you are needed on our ranges, but remember to maintain your distances, wash your hands, communicate with your teammates if you're feeling symptomatic. In addition, we're taking a look at other tactics, techniques, and procedures to maintain a safe distance while we're conducting our time on the range that we can't telework as a result of. Look, these are challenging times, but together we're going to get through this and remain a strong team and lead the Army and our nation into the future. These are my opening comments that I just kind of wanted to highlight and ground it and give some examples of what's going on here. What we did is we took a series of questions. We polled the workforce and asked some questions, and although some of them are not word for word, what we've done is taken those questions and kind of doled them out between the four of us here to make an assessment on how best to answer these questions. So I'll read the first one and then answer it, and then we'll go around to the other leaders in the room here. So the first question, is it true that the Secretary of Defense has directed individual posts to not disclose the number of COVID-19 cases as an operational security measure? Well, yesterday some guidance did come out about restricting reports on positive cases to report only on our classified SIPR network. However, today that guidance has been slightly modified to enable commanders to effectively communicate the needs and issue assistance as necessary. Currently, YPG has no positive cases across any of our test centers or ranges, and we are not under restriction to report only on SIPR at this point if we need to report some numbers up should we in the future have positive cases. But I want to leave you with the fact that as it stands right now today, we've got no positive cases at YPG.
Larry Bracamonte here. I'm the technical director here at YPG. I've got the first question. The first one is PPE available to test personnel who must work on site for whom 6 feet separation is not practical? So I'm going to say no. PPE is not available, nor is there PPE requirement from the Department of Defense for people working in close proximity with each other. Having said that, this is what we're doing to keep people safe. At the beginning of the day, we are screening people through the gates to ensure that they are not feeling ill or exhibiting any symptoms of COVID-19. I want to remind all employees have the responsibility to be honest about their health. Even when you're not at work, follow the CDC guidelines, stay away from large crowds, limit travel to essential tasks, and continue to wash your hands. Our supervisors are constantly communicating with their employees with respect to their health status. The welfare of the whole team is dependent upon personnel being able to outline their concerns so that we can plan activities accordingly. Also, we have tasked the directors to review daily work activities to determine if we can maximize a 6-foot separation distance wherever possible.
Hi, I'm Ron James, the acting Garrison manager here at YPG, and I'll have the next question. There have been some changes in installation access directed by Department of the Army since our last conversation. Could you explain these? And yes, I can. So hopefully this video is not a nexus for change. The last time we did this, I said we were HPCon Bravo, and about 12 hours after that, we went to Charlie. The whole Army went to Charlie under direction from Headquarters DA. So we are still at Charlie, and I'm going to read just a couple of examples from Army Public Health Center of what Charlie means, and I think you'll see that we're already doing this stuff. So the first one is expect cancellation of in-person gatherings and travel restrictions. You've already seen this. You've seen us stop church services, for example, and TDY is no longer available. So those are some examples of that. Plan activities for family members in case you're restricted to your home. That's just telling you to think about what might happen. And so you as a family unit can think about what we could do if we're in the house. Could we do board games, card games, those kind of things? Prepare for potential limited supplies and restricted access to post. So we've kind of already gone through this. We've seen our stores nationwide. The stores are kind of low. So we've kind of experienced that already. Access to post. We're not limiting access to any DoD ID card holders. But however, we are considering restricting people coming from off post. And I'll get to another question later that'll address that. And then the fourth one was implement remote working procedures. And so the guidance here at YPG has been clear. If you can telework, you will telework. And so we had already implemented that prior to going to HPCon-C. So that's just some examples of what HPCon-C consists of.
I'm Sergeant Major Jamie Nelson. I've got the next question. As someone in uniform, you are bound by orders not to leave the local area. What about the members of the civilian workforce who feel they are not bound and they want to travel outside the local area? So this is a good question. This is a question that's asked a lot. So the majority of our civilian population that falls in this category are contractors that work for TRACs. So the TRAC leadership has issued the same guidance to their employees that the DoD military personnel and DoD civilians have been issued. So they're mirroring the same thing that we do, and they're monitoring it closely. So there's really no difference in the guidance between either one of us.
The next question I'll field is this. YPG has a very large and diverse workforce, much of which is teleworking at the moment. For those folks whom teleworking is not practical or possible, what safety measures are in place? Well, as I said in my opening comments, we all have a social responsibility, which means, hey, if you're feeling symptomatic, let somebody know. Communicate with your coworkers to the right and left that are going to be in those spaces if you're out on a firing line or what have you. And so the first and foremost step is to communicate with the folks to your right and left. Recognize the opportunities where you can social distance further, and nobody understands your tasks better than you do. And so understand what it takes and understand what really needs to happen within those tasks and take some personal responsibility to figure out how to implement the CDC guidelines. Now, at the leadership level, what we're doing is we're having our safety office and our occupational health office go down and analyze the various tasks where we've made some assessments that people to do those jobs are closer than 6 feet. So they're going down, they're working with those crews that stay kind of close together and looking at, from a safety and occupational health perspective, how can we change some of these tasks and change some of the ways we do business, as well as our leaders are going down and making those assessments as well. So at the end of the day, leadership's taken an active approach in this, and all individuals have an individual responsibility to understand their tasks and improve it, and a social responsibility to communicate if you're not feeling well.
If someone in the workforce is concerned that one of their non-teleworking teammates is suddenly absent from work, call in sick, what should the people on the team do? Well, first and foremost, don't panic. As the Colonel said earlier, there have been no positive cases at YPG, and there have only been 12 positive cases in Yuma County. So it's relatively low when compared to the rest of the state, which is right now experiencing around like 1,200 or so cases. Continue to do your mission. We have tasked your supervisors with the responsibility of checking up on people to make sure that they're doing okay with respect to their health. So you guys don't have to worry, but we want you to concentrate on your mission as we go through these pretty much dynamic times.
Okay, my next question is actually 3 parts, but before I get to the questions, I'm going to explain the new procedures we have at the gate, because that'll help me kind of explain these answers. So when you come up to our gates, there will be a guard there who will ask you some health questions, just basic, do you have a fever, do you have a cough, those kinds of things. You will then proceed to the next guard where you'll show your ID card, and they will confirm that you're a DOD ID card holder and that you should be on the post, and then you proceed on to the post. So the 3 questions, first one, why are the gate guards not wearing protective masks during the health questioning? The answer to that is we don't have enough masks. Like the rest of the country, those are very low supply. So we have requested those. But to mitigate that, those guards are staying back 6 feet from your automobile to ask those questions, those health questions. The next part, why are they not taking people's temperatures at the installation? Same thing, we do not have the thermometers. Now the thermometers, we believe we will be able to get through the fire station, so we've got that request in and we hope to do that. Not sure that we'll implement that, but we do want to have the devices on hand just in case. And then the third part, do the guards have the legal right to ask these questions? This is happening Army-wide. It's been vetted through legal throughout the Army, and they're not HIPAA type questions. They are just like I described earlier. Just the basic, do you have a fever, do you have a cough, those kinds of things. And the answers to those help us as a team stay safe. You've heard it here from the Colonel and from Larry that we've got to work together as a team to figure out who's not healthy or might be a potential candidate to turn around the gate. And we just want to keep everybody safe, and this is how we get at that.
All right, for my next question, some people are frustrated by the shortages found in the commissary. Is there anything that can be done to alleviate these shortages? Well, we have a small commissary, and if you go out in town, you'll notice that even the big box chains are struggling to keep supplies in. And what can be done to alleviate that is buy what you need and don't buy in surplus. So for a small installation with a small commissary, that's going to allow legally for retirees to come in and shop there, because that is their right. We need to be extra cautious in what we get at our commissary and only get what you need. And that will, one, help our commissary and ensure that there's things available throughout the week.
My next question is teleworking being used to the maximum extent practical at this time? So my answer to that is yes, I'm encouraging maximum telework. If you can be on telework, you should be on telework. Now there's exceptions, and there's times when some folks need to come in to check on things or to manage folks that are working, but to the maximum extent practical, and we're not limited to 1 or 2 days a week, To the maximum extent practical, we're implementing telework for those that can.
If someone in the workforce is spreading misinformation, should his workmates speak up and correct it? And my answer to that is most definitely. We don't want false rumors being spread among the workforce. Obviously, we want to deal in facts. So to those employees who hear rumors and so forth, let's correct them. Talk with your supervisor, meet as a group so that we can basically stick to the facts and not rumors. Because when rumors get out of control, then obviously it could affect the safety of the workforce.
Okay, so my next question is, in a situation like this, people's minds tend to run towards contingencies for worst case scenario. If the post were to shut down for a time, what would happen to the folks who live here? Second part, would essential services still be delivered? So the answer to that is we would continue to make life on this post as normal as conditions allow. So we will, to the best of our ability, keep everything as normal as you see it now. However, we all know that there are going to be some types of restrictions at some point that could get worse. But the intent is to keep AFES open, to keep the commissary open. Vital services, we have redundancies built in for electricity and water and wastewater. So those things are all taken care of. So as much as we can, we're going to keep your life as normal as conditions will allow, and also provide you the essential services that you need.
So I actually have no more questions, but I wanted to take a minute to thank both the workforce and the residents for what you're doing. The low numbers that we see are a direct result of your actions. We ask you to keep doing what you're doing, practice the social distancing, watch out for your children on post, especially around the playgrounds. We can sit here and we can tell everybody what to do, but without you doing it, it's all for nothing. So our low numbers are a direct reflection of your personal actions, and I want to thank you for that.
All right, my next question is a great question, and one that's got a lot of questions behind. It's important to adhere to travel restrictions. What if I have a family member out of state or from Mexico that want to visit me? The bottom line is currently all DoD personnel are restricted to local travel, whether on or off duty, whether you're a DoD civilian or military. You're restricted to local travel on and off duty, whether on leave or not. All DoD personnel are not allowed into Mexico. So consequently, for those of you that have family members, I ask you again to obey your social responsibility. So the DoD member cannot travel into Mexico, cannot travel outside of the local area. And if you have a family member that is down in Mexico, I ask you to, for the time being, don't visit those family members, to have them not come visit you. We've got a couple cases of leaders at this table right here that have experienced this very same scenario. Mr. James's family is in California, and were asked to come visit. And Mr. James said no. California is under a stay-at-home directive, so consequently he asked his children and grandchildren to not come to YPG and visit. Same situation is true with Command Sergeant Major Nelson. He's got extended family in-laws in the LA area that asked to come visit, and Command Sergeant Major Nelson said no. I've got the same scenario with my folks. They were talking about coming down and spending a couple days down here during some slow times for all of us, and I told them no. I said stay home, and as it stands, Arizona is in a stay-home situation as well right now. So the bottom line is this: if asked by family members, for a period of the next several weeks, we ask you just to refrain and maintain your social distance. We all have a social responsibility to do our part.
So I've got the next question. Some folks who are teleworking have some duties that require them to come here in person in some instances. Are those folks allowed to take GSA vehicles home with them? The answer is no, they are not. If you have to travel to YPG, then you would do so either in a van pool or your POV during normal circumstances. So I see no difference here. The bottom line is that I don't want people driving their vehicles, their GSA vehicles home with them, because obviously you could be in violation of policy, which in the worst case could get you pretty much a 30-day suspension. So we definitely don't want that to happen. So again, the answer is no, you cannot take GSA vehicles home.
All right, my final question is, if post residents have close family members or friends who live outside the local area and want to come to visit, can they still sponsor those folks to come on post? This is very similar to what the Colonel talked about, but I'll give a little bit more specifics. So if your guests or family are coming from Yuma County, yes, you can sponsor them. Yes, they can come on post. If they're outside of Yuma County, we want to handle that on a case-by-case basis. So if you go through the thought process that I had to go through with my family was, where are they coming from? Are there restrictions in the location that they're coming from? And think through that. So if you have that scenario and you've thought through it and you still want your family or friends to visit here, you can call the Visitor Center. If you're on post, that extension is 6668. If you're off post, 928-328-6668. And they will ask you those same questions. You know, where are they coming from? How long are they going to be here? All the normal questions. And then we will handle those on a case-by-case basis so that we can keep our community safe and make sure we're controlling who comes on and who doesn't come on the post.
So I just want to caveat real quick on the last question the Colonel had when we were talking about travel and family members. And I want to reiterate, because this is probably one of the most asked questions, when we look at the number of personnel we have on post, and the majority being, the contractors, they were issued the exact same guidance that all other personnel were. Do not go to Mexico. Do not travel out of the local area. If we increase ours, I fully expect them to increase their guidance as they have been with their people to mirror what we're doing.
My last question is, how widespread would COVID-19 transmission have to be before YPG shut down entirely for a time? Well, what I can talk to is specifically we will follow all DoD policies that are put out at that time. But currently, there are no military installations that are completely shut down. Additionally, ATEC is identified as an Army critical organization and to remain open to the maximum extent practical. Just before we came to shoot this video here, I came from a meeting with the ATEC commander, Major General Tyler, and his comment to us commanders is shutting down is not an option. Therefore, do your mission safely. There's several criteria that we look at. To do our mission, we'll follow those criteria, we'll do it safely, and we'll remain open for business, and we'll serve the nation that they're calling on us to do. All right, in closing, we'll continue to do these for the next several weeks until we're through this crisis. But I want to echo the words Sergeant Major said, and something I said at the start is, our numbers here in Yuma County are low. We're low compared to the rest of the country. And we're a fairly remote location to begin with. But in addition to that, we've seen some outstanding leadership exercised here in our community and across our ranges as well. And so for that being said, it's not by accident that we have low numbers. It's not by accident that we have no reported cases across any of our ranges, from Alaska through Yuma down to Panama and Suriname. And so what I ask is leaders to continue to do the great things that you're doing out there. And for all the employees across the ranges, civilian, military, and contractor, again, do your social responsibility. If you're feeling symptomatic, notify somebody. Tell them, do the right thing. And also remember that, hey, it's also allergy season here in the Yuma area and many other areas. So don't confuse the allergy symptoms or whatnot with the COVID-19 symptoms. Follow the CDC guidelines, and together we're going to get through this pandemic, and we're going to be stronger in the end as a result of the strong teamwork that we all show day in and day out on YPG ranges.